Great Nigerians, you're welcome. And also, happy Xmas in advance. You're welcome to your darling station, The Living Television. Today, we are going to go on our usual program, Nigeria Today. Nigeria Today comes to you from the stable of The Living Television, where we discuss topical issues as it concerns our country and various states. Today, I have a very important person you will always want to listen to, and that is a comrade, Nnamdi Elekwachi. Comrade Nnamdi Elekwachi is a historian and also public affairs analyst and a political affairs analyst as well. Comrade, you're welcome to the program.
Yes, thank you for having me join you. Good day to you and to our viewers.
All right, today I know you may be surprised and worried we only have one person in the house. Well, that's what today gives, and then we are going to make do with that. The most important thing is that we have a very sound mind who understands the trends and the current affairs in this country. Not just that, a historian who can also take you back, because you know it takes a copious knowledge of the past to shape the future. And so that is why today we have him, and I'm sure a bait at hand is what millions in the bush. Having said that, the spokespersons of Tinubu, Shettima, and Atiku Okowa presidential campaign councils on Wednesday had to scold Peter Obi for asking aged candidates to stay back and allow younger ones who are very energetic. According to him, he said the task of rescuing Nigeria from total collapse requires the physical energy of a vibrant candidate who can get the job done seamlessly. And because of this, Okowa, Atiku, and Tinubu, Shettima spokespersons had to attack him. They had to engage in a war of words. And comrade,
yes.
Talking about Peter Obi, who every other person had believed is on issue-based campaign and not looking at individuals. What's your take on this?
Well, thank you very much. I love the way you stated it. Issue-based campaign. Is that an issue? It's not much of an issue, if you ask me. You understand? Because the Constitution of Nigeria is clear, elaborate, and express. It did not say persons should be discriminated or should be disqualified from contesting because of their age. You understand? And the Constitution remains the ground now. You understand? It did not say a particular age. You understand? Should not be allowed, except where it is clear that you have what you call the age to contest. Perhaps from the age of 35, 40, you now begin to talk of contesting for various offices in the country. Even from 30 now, thanks to President Muhammadu Buhari, who signed the Not Too Young to Run bill after much protest. But what Peter Obi said should also be looked into from another perspective, given the recent experience of this country, especially under President Muhammadu Buhari. You know, at a point, many things were happening in the country for which the citizens were crying out, calling the president to come and address them, whether he was even aware of all that all that were happening. A particular school came saying that the president does not process information the same way he used to, that he should be given preference, being an aged man, unlike what he was when he was much younger in the 80s, when Nigeria was placed under military jackboot and ruled to a degree. And that again, if you look at past experiences the country has had, if Peter Obi had said people whose medical condition cannot allow them to do the job, I would have said yes, that's more preferable. Because if you remember very well the issue of President Omar Musa Yar'Adua, it was not about age, it was about health. You understand? Ability to do the job. And mind you, it's also stated in the Constitution that the president should also have a clean bill of health, should have sound health. But the problem there is that it requires the cabinet and then the doctor of the president to maybe report to the National Assembly or to transfer or to transmit the letter to the National Assembly that the president has become incapacitated. That is where that is problem. But now, if you look at what has happened, the two candidates now whose spokesperson are reacting, you look at it, see that there are concerns about their age and to an extent their health too. I remember vividly during 2011 campaign or 2015 campaign when Atiku broke a leg and then he traveled abroad to go treat himself. And that was during campaign. And then if you look at the question of Tinubu, many things, controversies have been surrounding his health and then age too. Whether he's the real age he is projecting his actual age or not has been an issue, you understand? But if you ask me, I would say that Nigerians, when they are also choosing, should also consider everything, including how sound the person is. I'll give you an instance. Remember, after Yar'Adua died, the revelations started coming. One of the revelations was that Yar'Adua nearly slumped at Togo. He nearly fell down at Togo. When he had attended ECOWAS summit, he nearly slumped at Togo. Imagine if the president has slumped at the airport, what would have become of this nation? If a journalist was actually to run a sensational or maybe, let me say, a very funny headline, you could hear a story like Nigeria collapsed in Togo. Because if the president should collapse, it means the country has collapsed. So what we are saying is that if medically you cannot go it, we've seen the pictures of Tinubu and the rest of them where they are being led to a platform or to a podium to go and talk and something, and Nigerians are asking questions on the internet, everywhere, through every platform. They are asking questions. But I do not think it is in the place of Peter Obi to even begin to meddle in such things. These are the things. Yes, I understand where he's coming from, but these are the things he should not be involved in. Then again, I think that said, if you look at it very, very well, you see that the two candidates we are even talking about now, I'm sorry to say it, but that is what majority of the voters are saying, especially the new registrants. They are seeing them as the old order, you understand, and that they represent the establishment, and that there is a need now for a new order through what President Olusegun Obasanjo, former president, called the third force. But I still believe in what Azikiwe said, what Ziki called the young old man and the old young man. You understand? It depends on how healthy your mind is and how you can process information, articulate policies, and then, to an extent, be vigorous. In America, they have about they have a president who is up to 80, but it depends on how vigorous, how smart you are. So the persons who see this as embarrassment should actually look at the subliminal text or the subtext of the message being served.
Okay. Now, I think the major worry is talking about aged candidates. If Obi had stopped at the task of rescuing Nigeria from the total collapse, requires the physical energy of a vibrant candidate, I think that would have been okay. But yes, those of them who took after him to scold him, that automatically means they are afraid of what he said.
Yes, the truth about it is that if we are to situate this context within the Nigerian labor market, these persons are retired. You understand?
Yeah.
They are all spent. These two candidates. If we are to relate the presidency, you understand? You understand? We are to bring it to the context of the labor market. Nobody employs a CEO who is 70. You understand? Nobody. So that is why they are concerned. And again, there is this assumption on the part of people who are not supporting these two candidates that their candidacy represents a cliquish few. You understand? Those who have had their claws, who have maintained a grip, and those who have been strangulating the economy of the nation. So even the other day we were talking about what Atiku said, and then the response from Lai Mohammed, how Atiku sold off some assets, and then people lost their jobs and whatever. So these are people who have been in the politics. Just look at Tinubu. He has been a senator as far back as 1992. Atiku was also in the presidential race as at that time, and we are talking about 30 years down the line. So it means that these persons, they are versed in the Nigerian politics as we have it today, but they've been there for a very long time, and they are part of the establishment. And then that, to an extent, part of the protest now going on among some voters, though not quite all, is that we want something new. We no longer want something that is close to or that has semblance of what we are passing through.
It's okay. The federal government on Thursday announced that the implementation of the national minimum wage was critical to the national development, since they are officers monitoring the implementation.
Yeah.
And the implementation of the national minimum wage, according to Ngige, the Minister of Labor, he said it is important and should be paramount in Nigeria. And then, while looking at this, comrade, I will also want you to consider the analysis of the World Bank when they said even the 30,000 naira minimum wage as at
2019, thereabout.
No, 2019, yes, thereabout. That it is about 19,335 naira.
Yes,
as we speak.
Today, yes,
of today. And then we are still talking about the implementation.
Yes.
That is to say, there are states that have not implemented
that
this.
there are states that I'm not even sure whether they has implemented. And then, although there were statements, you see, it is different to have a policy statement. Then policy action is also different from policy statement. Many governors, including the governor of Abia State, said, yes, we will do this, we can do this. But doing it is where the responsibility or where the action is. But let me say, you see, there is what scholars mean when they say growth without development. Growth without development. You see, the minimum wage can grow, but cannot do something significant for the recipient or for the Nigerian workers. Mind you, we are saying minimum wage, which means at minimum, every worker should receive 30,000 naira. And we are having problem to even adopt this across the board.
Yeah.
It should be a challenge to us. I remember vividly, some governors came out to say that they cannot implement. You understand? That they cannot meet that task. But the major thing to look at now is this. Looking at the World Bank report, they said as at the time when this package was being given, you understand, considering inflation, considering the purchasing power, considering the market operations, then considering also the economic situation, the prevailing circumstances at the moment, relating it to the context we are today, that those that the money translates to 19,000 something. It means we are still back to status quo.
Yeah.
Because it was 18,000 then. You understand what I'm saying now? It means we are back to status quo. So if we're talking about minimum wage now at this moment, we should even be thinking of what we should do to cushion the effect of poverty, to cushion the effect of hardship. That family or household finances are shrinking. A bag of rice today is 37,000, is 50-something thousand naira. So you now ask yourself, who among these poor workers, that like cleaners, the receptionists, in fact, salary before worker,
how many of them can afford half a bag
and then take care of other things for the season?
Half a bag should be above 25,000.
So that is the problem. You see, this is the country where we know that the president ordered that the borders be shut. That Nigeria wanted to look inward then and begin to grow the capacities to produce rice. And we were told that from 10 rice plants, we now have 180. Then from 10 fertilizer blending plants, we now have 142. But do you know that within the intervening period, we closed our border? Do you know what happened? The price of the same thing quadrupled. Even the rice pyramid we were being told exists somewhere. At a point, everything seemed to be a jamboree. So the point here remains that we should look at poverty, look at inflation, look at unemployment, which is about 33%. Look at, you see, even two days ago or so, the Senate president came out to say that the budget of 2023 is not possible. Yeah. So these are the things we should be looking at, you understand, to plan our minimum wage. You see, it is no longer realizable for, in fact, it's not even possible for someone who has been who is working in Nigeria, the current Nigeria today, to take home the salary of 30,000 naira, when transportation alone can take that. People are living in Lagos.
Yeah.
People are living in Abuja, where you have a higher cost of transportation. People are also living in Port Harcourt. People are living in these areas. You understand? People are living in, even in Niger State, people are living in maybe in another local government different from where they are working. So how do you expect them to fare? So these are the problem. And when we say Nigeria is having poverty problem, it is part of it. That people cannot buy what they can eat. 30,000 naira. Personally, me alone cannot feed me in a month.
How can it feed? All right, a little away from that, talking about because if you want to base this judgment on the government, on the federal government assertion, on the contribution of the state government, the state government's contribution towards poverty, and then some states not yet implementing 30,000, and then how do we look at that? Because there is no governor that is not feeding well.
Yeah.
There is no governor whose words are not feeding well. And then most of them take a wine that will cost more than 500,000
exactly.
in a sitting.
At
a sitting. And then you cannot pay a worker 30,000 naira, which is less than 19,000 naira, as we speak today.
Yes.
And all of us go to the same market.
Yeah.
What do we refer that to?
That is man's inhumanity to man, and it shows you the level of insensitivity, you understand, in the minds of these ones who parade themselves as governors, as senators, or what have you. That's just the clear indication. You see, we have a country where every other month the governors receive hundreds of millions, if not billions, in the name of security food. They also, I've never heard it that a governor is owed salary. They also pay themselves. They pay, in most cases, their staff and those with and those at the government house. But to pay the workers, the civil service, the cadre, who are helping you implement your policy, now becomes a problem. We are not even talking about the old citizens, the retirees of this country. You remember in Niger State, sometime this year, retirees came out. They took to the streets. What was the cause? They said 20 years they have never seen gratuity. 20 years is 2002. That means
my mother died without her gratuity.
Exactly. You see, you are now a victim.
My father now is a mortuary pension of 4 years.
Was the governor in 2002. That is, he has not even completed a term. He was still, and he was not yet term limited. You understand? He was not yet term limited. He was still active. You understand? Then Otis Okalo did about 5 years. That's the meaning. Because he left 2007. He did 5 years without paying gratuity. Then Theodoji did 8 years without paying gratuity. Okay, he is now doing 7 years. And these citizens are saying, so how do you expect poverty gap not to widen? How do you expect the poverty gap to breathe? You see, that is why we have the poor and the rich in the country. It's not only Abia State. Go to other places. You understand? Other states too. I can tell you that similar things are happening across the board. You see, the question now that the governors receive their own salaries and whatnot, it is not even to be argued. You understand?
Yeah.
Now, these governors, we know how they spend money. We know what they also spend money on. What they drink, what they consume, and how they travel outside the shores of this country just to have political meetings. Now you now begin to ask yourself, the beautiful palaces and the houses and the offices they built, what use are they? So that is just the thing we are even talking about. Until we begin to run politics where the salaries and then emoluments, even perquisites paid to these persons, are really addressed.
All right,
we can't have this solved.
We only pray that God will come to our aid, because even as we speak, even
but when we
outside the minimum wage.
When we say God come to our aid, I think it sounds escapist to an extent. Yeah.
What else? But that is the poor man's consolation. What do you expect? Because the main wage, the main salary wages are not paid. Talk less of this minimum wage.
Yeah.
And about some are owed 2 years, some are owed 3 years.
Some are even told that they will receive half of the month.
Yes.
They are to be paid.
Then the federal government is talking about the implementation of the minimum wage. I don't understand. Anyway, away from that,
but
before we go,
we don't have to blame the federal government. You see, to an extent, we blame them. You see, at a point, the Minister of Finance came out to say they released 5.03 trillion naira to these governors to tackle the issue of salaries. You understand? They also said they also support their budget with what we call budget support facility. What are these governors doing?
That is one
even
question.
Remember also other intervention fund that came in the name of Paris Club,
and derivation.
That one is 13%. Now remember also the intervention fund that came in the name of Paris Club. And then even during COVID-19, more monies were expended.
Exactly.
So to me,
it's quite unfortunate where we find ourselves. Okay, away from that, the governor of Rivers State, Nyesom Wike, has promised to announce his preferred candidate in the forthcoming 23 general election. He said he will make this announcement by January 2023. He will announce his preferred candidate. Then the question I really want to ask about this: why is it looking as if the polity of Nigeria is centering around Nyesom Wike?
It's as if falling back to where we were before, the governors and the roles they play. I have this to say, you see, Nyesom Wike, to me, he has only one vote. Understand? He has only one vote. So whether he likes or not, let him shout about whom he is supporting. You understand? Let him shout about it. He will only vote for one candidate, not two. And he has only one vote, and he votes is not going to count more than for more than one
person. Yes.
It will count only for him. But the thing there is that he's playing politics. He's also trying to a great extent undermine his party. You understand? For what he considers as betrayal, and where they are today, I think they've crossed the Rubicon. Atiku has made it clear that the chairman is not going to step down. Wike has insisted that the chairman must step down. You understand?
And I think each said they can do without
and that they can do without him. So, see, each and every one of them is also in contravention of the PDP constitution by one way or the other. So, to me, whether Wike likes, he can actually. Somebody said something, and I was beginning to consider it. The person said Wike needs a hug as much as he can get from his wife, everybody close to him. That some of the things he's doing, there are people who have psychopathic analysis. So said some of the things he's doing could be psychologically related or could be motivated, you understand, by temperament or something, by betrayal, you understand. So that some of the things is that he needs love and soothing. No, you see how he has taken to his band and all that. So to me, it's still the same thing we are seeing.
Now, if we are fighting, if people talked against the same faith ticket, Muslim ticket, and then why would the national chairman of a party come from the same zone with the
presidential aspirant
when there are other persons across the nation?
Yes,
that was geopolitical.
That was where PDP shot itself at the foot. Why? Because at the time when the party chairman was appointed, PDP's constitution still remained that the offices in the within the party will be zoned. You understand? The knowledge or the assumption was that it was coming down to south. The presidency was coming down to south. But people like Wike and the rest of them turned out the narrative about competence, character, and whatever. Atiku now joined the race and took it.
Since you said it's about competence.
Since you said it's about competence, it means I'm also qualified, and that was the reason he adduced. You understand? Now, ever since then, we've seen that has changed the permutation and the structure of the party leadership against people like Wike and the rest of them. And they are now falling back to the same constitution they violated to say the chairman must step down. That is the
all right, I think like you rightly said, they shot themselves in the leg because if Wike was fair to the southeasterners, he would have allowed that
to happen.
But because of the role he played in PDP when Atiku and so many others left the party,
yes, he was the person.
Yes, he thought the party was going to recognize his effort.
Yes, I have said that often, that when this party was thrown into the gutter, Wike picked it up, cleaned it. But those who threw the party inside the gutter came and snatched it from him. That is why he's crying like a baby whose toy has been taken away from him.
All right, wonderful viewers. We are going to go on a very short break. When we come back, Nigeria Today continues. Don't go away.
And so you can keep on watching Living TV. I can say in pidgin English. Living TV. Unade Kampe.
Living TV, bringing the word first to you.
You're welcome back. I'm happy you're still there watching Living TV. Continuing, Governor Keze Ibazo, PhD, has directed the immediate dissolution of the 17 local government chairmen and their councillors. And that includes also their deputies. He has announced that and said it should happen immediately. Now, I remember yesterday we talked about when we were discussing the local government affairs, how the local government has faced in its autonomy and so on.
Yeah.
Since after the 1976 reform, we talked about this and mentioned the chairman, and then one of you said that very soon that they will start move the chairman, both those who want to go back as appointed and those who are stepping down from the executive chairmanship, that the cows will be exchanging hands now because they want to go back.
Yeah.
And then he has announced the dissolution and so on. And then that is to say, very soon there will be chairmen will be appointed in these 17 local government areas.
Yes, councils.
And then talking about this appointment of the local government chairman, especially at this festive period, because the essence of creating the local government is to make sure that the dividend of democracy gets to the grassroots.
Yeah.
Now, with what is happening at this festive period, and with this appointment that is forthcoming, if it doesn't come now, it may come by January. What do our rural areas expect from them?
I'm sorry, you are even still talking about the rural areas. It's not for them. You see, when I said yesterday that local government councils have become extension of state governments across the board, I said for the 36 states. You remember with the Constitution, section 2, subsection 2, which talks about the constituent part of Nigeria, not the federating unit. Says Nigeria shall be a federation with constituent, with states, and the FCT, 36 states and the FCT as its constituents. Then the schedule now name the states. It did not even include the local government. Then I said something about chapter 1, part 2 of the Constitution, then section 7, where this is where the governor is now deriving his power to do this thing, because it says that section 7 says, pursuant to section 8, that the state government must make sure that elections that are democratically conducted must happen across these councils, but that the same state government must ensure, you understand, the structure, component parts, and the operations of the local government in their states. That is the lacuna. You understand? So it appears as if a governor is dissolving his cabinet, but it is not what it ought to be. It's not as if the governor has powers to dissolve the local government. Should have fixed office, like we have said before. You understand? A tenure that is fixed, just like that of the governor is fixed. But unfortunately, this thing happens, and I was expecting you to say prior to the election. It happens in every other state. In fact, all the states, it happens when the elections are near. The governors begin to do what? Dissolve local councils. And now we are expecting appointments to be made. Now the question should be, how much of the interest of the local persons are these persons going to represent? When we know that some of them, in all the states, they don't even live in the local government where they are administering. They don't even live there. They visit there maybe on weekend basis or maybe howsoever they like. So to me, it is still the same thing. And then the meaning of this is that for now, the governor wants to make appointments.
That's it.
They want to make appointments. You understand? From certain persons he knows whose character he can attest to, and then the irony of it all is that there is no form of check. It's not even the kind of appointment you make and the House of Assembly begins to vet, because this is local government, which primarily or ordinarily ought to be a separate, a different tier of government. So it is not like the cabinet, which the government has powers to dissolve at will and to appoint, you understand, then subject to the ratification or subject to the vetting of the House of Assembly. So these persons will be appointed maybe when the governor deems necessary and they assume. So I am saying congratulations to whoever will be there already.
All right. The federal government says it has recorded significant strides in the three major pillars of this present administration since 2015. And these pillars include security, economy, and anti-corruption. Mr. President said this through his through the Chief of Staff, Professor Ibrahim Gambari. He said this in Ebonyi yesterday when he represented the governor. You know, so three major pillars: security, economy, and anti-corruption. He said they've made a giant stride in these three areas.
Yes. You know, sometimes I ask myself, what does this administration use to gauge its performance? What are the indices they use? I remember vividly at a point they were fighting. Garibashir was actually fighting against the Statistician General of the Federation over employment figure. The man said employment is this, and the presidency is saying no, this is not the actual figure. So it means that we have a government living in a different universe, in fact, alternate reality. You see, it is not to be wished away, neither is it to be argued, that there were three-pronged areas that formed the plank of President Muhammadu Buhari's campaign of change in 2014, and those were corruption, insecurity, and economy. Now, this is our assessment. The other day, Minister Lai Mohammed said, based on their scorecard, that they have done, I don't know where they get the scorecard from, but they said they have done well in these three fronts. But
now let's just look at them.
Yes, I'm coming to that.
Yes.
If you look at the economy now, Buhari became president when inflation was about 7% or so. You understand? When inflation was about 7 to 9% or thereabouts. Under him, inflation hit double digit. Although we must understand that there was a recession. The country slid into a recession which was not his making. But how he managed the recession, you understand, actually dovetailed into more serious crisis. That we are talking about a price of rice and the other food items being high. It's still part of the whole thing. Now we have, in addition to this, we are having more out-of-school children, displacement, you understand, as made to happen by forces and the elements of terror, that farmers no longer access their farms, and it has affected production. It has also brought about food crisis from the north down south. Now you see that we've also seen issues like oil theft, which have undermined the performance of the budget, making it impossible nearly for NNPC to remit a kobo in the FAC every other month. So the whole thing is, economically, how has this administration fared? We were told the other day about how more 45 million Nigerians have slumped into poverty, and you want us to believe you've actually addressed the economy. Now look at insecurity itself. In addition to Boko Haram we are dealing with, we now have equally strong, in fact more strong splinter cells who have actually come out from the Boko Haram itself. Not that they were not there before, but they have become more powerful. You have Ansero, you have ISWAP, you have other faceless and nameless terror cells. Even down to the southeast, the way the president has managed the agitation for separate existence had actually triggered security threats in this part of the country. You understand? We now have even groups with unnameable, in fact, I can't even tell, who are also agitating for it. And now we are now seeing the security implication. Now take it to corruption. This government, in fact, chiefest of all the campaign promises was corruption. That was what Nigerians believed, that if Buhari recovers Nigeria from corruption, or if Buhari helps Nigeria to recover from corruption, that we will be on our way to what? Economic ascendancy. Did it happen? It did not happen. And then, see, At the point, I think Transparency International issued the release that Nigeria was, I think, either 154th in the ladder of corruption or what. That is by the way. Then, listen, under this same administration, we have woken up to hear that reptiles, rodents, are swallowing money. Not that the administration is not fighting corruption, but they told us that they are fighting corruption and that corruption was fighting back. So if you look at these whole indices, you will see that yes, the president may be doing his possible best, but his possible best is not enough and does not reflect on the realities on ground. It is as clear as day.
All right. Having said that and away from that, the Federal High Court on Thursday declared Mohamed Abacha as the authentic governorship candidate of the opposition People's Democratic Party, PDP, in Kano State.
Yes.
And then, what is important about this issue is the man. The moment you mention Abacha in Nigeria, every person knows where our minds will run to.
Yes, we run to.
Yes, and then we're talking about this guy who has come, though. According to news, he had promised heaven and hell to come out a better person and not the looting galore as usual. So, what's your take about? And so, I also want to say kudos to the young man because in Nigeria, most of the prominent men you hear their names and so on. The moment immediately after their demise, everything about them stops. Everything about them will stop. But this man,
you see, I want you to say something. You didn't put it the way it ought to be. The good ones.
You're good.
Yes, Simon
exactly.
and Michael
The
moment they die, there is no political dynasty. But there is a political dynasty. In fact, there are political dynasties across the federation. And I will tell you why. Just during this last election, all the former governors, many of them, their children, won one election or the other. As I told you, James Ibori, who was also convicted for money laundering abroad. His daughter won election, a legislative election. And I can also tell you, here where we are seated, that not only the Abacha we're even talking about, you understand? We've also had the Saraki, the Sarakis. You understand what I'm saying now? Even in Niger State, we have a family where you have 3 brothers who are active in politics.
Yes.
You understand? Or 4 brothers who are active in politics. We also have a son of a political has-been who is also aspiring to be a governor in the current election. Now, let's go back to the national front. The last election, and I want you to do that assignment. If you just take your time as a researcher I know you to be, research and see that over 16 to 20 people who won even deputy governorship election. In fact, as governorship election, you understand, for various parties, were children of former political office holders. In most cases, those whose record are known. So I think the Abacha family is very popular in Kano State. We don't take that away. Just like you have the Yar'Adua family in Katsina State. You see, in this country, politicians are building dynasty, and that is why they are sending their children abroad to go and acquire education and come and continue where they are stopping. You understand? And at the same time, building marital alliances. Look to see how they marry. Just like a permutation. The son of this person will marry the daughter of that person. You look at this person, he's in the legislature or he is in the executive. You see how they intermarry. You understand? So this is what has been on. I say the daughter of James Ibori was there.
Even state here.
Yes. TARG, his son is still the Speaker of our House. In fact, it is just like that.
All right. Away from that, I know it's not to
say that they don't have right to aspire.
Yes, no,
but it's what is happening.
No, they have every right
to aspire. Just
when you talk about the good leaders, we have the likes of Nnamdi Azikiwe.
Yeah.
His son is supposed to have been the president of this country.
Yes, but at a point, the son was given appointment with either ECOWAS or so. Where are the children of the man who made education a primary thing for the West?
Yeah.
Awolowo.
Awolowo.
So we are the children of Michael Okpara, Where are the children of Simon Babwe?
Well,
Where are the children of Latif? Tried in 2003. Now, where are the children of Latif Jakonde? Where are the children of Bola Ige? So where are they?
That's it. Okay, away from that, the Nigerian bar has dragged the Minister of Women Affairs and Social Development, Dan Pauline Tallinn, before a high court of the Federal Capital Territory, FCT Abuja, praying the court to bar her from holding any public office in the country. What is her offense? The NBA alleged that the minister had, in a speech she made at a public function, described a Federal High Court decision that sacked the only woman governorship candidate in the country, Aishatu Binani, as kangaroo judgment, thereby inciting citizens to disobey judgment of court of competent jurisdiction. All right. Now, in this matter, you know about the Minister of Women Affairs.
Yes.
Maybe because that was the only woman who was contesting, and for obvious reasons, now a court of competent jurisdiction was disqualified, and then she came out openly in a public, and said that thing is a kangaroo judgment.
Yes.
And because of this, the NBA had to take her
up
to court.
Yes. You see, the NBA is a body, a professional body. So when you say something about the bench and they now begin to feel perhaps threatened, or they wanted to know the legal implication, or that it should be given a legal interpretation, what it means to call such judgment kangaroo judgment, as handed down by a court of competent jurisdiction. But remember also that when the governor of Ebonyi State was sacked by a court in this country, when his position was actually declared invalid, you understand, for defecting from the PDP to the APC. You remember a court ruled that before another judge, a superior court now. Now see, the governor made some statements that were not supposed to be made by a public official. What did the Nigerian Bar Association do? The governor, in fact, lampooned the judge who called him incompetent, called him many names, even said things that were similar to calling a court of competent jurisdiction kangaroo. You understand? But I didn't hear the NBA. Now, I have said here before that a sitting minister in the cabinet of President Muhammadu Buhari during the campaign said they have money. Is it money? The state minister spoke in Hausa. Is it money? We have money. We can give you money. At the time when the CBN was actually trying to cap limitation or bring about limitation on withdrawal, at the time when the president was fighting hard to make election free and fair, his party members and his cabinet members were saying such thing. I didn't hear the NBA. It is fine for the NBA to react this way in circumstances like this, but they should do it where it is necessary.
Good. That is exactly where I was coming.
They should do it where it's necessary. You understand?
Now, if the NBA should be reacting this way, what have they done concerning another court of competent jurisdiction that discharged and acquitted a particular person in this country?
Yeah.
And yet the federal
Attorney General, who is also part of that professional body, interpreted a judgment that he did not hand down the way it suits him.
So what has the NBA done? What have they done about that?
Yes, even the case, you should remember there was a case of I said here the other day, the issue of bullion van that entered into the house of Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Protests were raised, people were asking questions. You see, I always give it to President Muhammadu Buhari. These are not the kind of things you see with that man. He may not have fought corruption, he may not have done well, but whatever happens to him are the things that are attached to the office of the president, the frivolities. You understand? Now see, we saw 2 bullion vans drive inside a man's compound, and the EFCC told Nigerians that if they petition, they will look into the petition. Petitions flew from different angles, left, center, right, what have you. The EFCC could not even try that matter. What has the NBA done to say, in accordance with our money, or pursuant to our money laundering act, so and so person did this? We want to see the interpretation. Now, they are not even acting in that. So they should be there to protect the judiciary and also the practitioners. You understand? The servants of the law or the law system. What did they do when the president removed the Chief Justice of the Federation?
Yeah.
What did they do?
That's it.
What did they do when the president, we saw the politics, the rigmaroles, what happened, and this man was sacked unceremoniously?
Yes.
What did they do? What did they do when the Attorney General interpreted the court judgment? He was not even in. He was not even among the panel that decided, and it was a unanimous decision that Nnamdi Kanu be freed, be tried and acquitted. The Attorney General interpreted it the way it suits him. What did they do? So, if they want to be the custodian of our law, they should do it. I am a supporter of it. They should do it across the board. But then, you should also speak something of our system. That at the time when we're talking about social inclusion, political inclusion, economic inclusion, gender inclusion, as it may have to do with the women. A single woman won a ticket, maybe for a logical reason, she was disqualified. But why will it be one woman across the 36 states?
Across the 36 states. And that's a wonderful question. But yet, during the time of, not just Onoge, during the time of, even after the appeal court's decision, I had expected that the NBA
will wade into the matter.
Yes, and even do a protest to tell the federal government that they are not happy the way the rule of law is being messed with, even by the same people. Especially when the president himself had told Nigerians and Ohanes Ndigbo that is not ready to well into the matter. Let the court do their work.
The president even said it, I think, in London or where. There was the time he traveled, either in America or London, where he even said the same thing.
Yes.
That it is not his own matter, that the law court will decide. But the law court decided. And then they decided again.
And then the NBA now didn't say anything. They are doing nothing about it.
Yeah.
The NBA, even the judiciary, and even when the 3 judges that gave these
were transferred
to various places just to
from Abuja,
and then nothing has happened. Then why pick on this woman?
That is the thing. And then the world is watching. To an extent, it may begin to have that tone of anti-feminine approach to politics.
Yes.
When we are talking about inclusion. That's the problem.
All right, our wonderful viewers, this is the much we are going to take for today. Well, thank you for being there. And remember, keep watching Living Television and keep watching the rest of our programs. And remember, especially this weekend, we are loaded. And then this is a media with full option, so you can't afford to miss any minute in Living Television. Having said that, Comrade Nnamdi Lekwachi, thank you for being part of today's
Thank you
program.
so much. Thank you, our viewers.
And this is your anchor man, Chineduma Diele, signing off for today.